And we're back.
We're back.
Seeking Wisdom is back. I'm excited. I'm fueled up on coffee. Let's get this.
You are. You are. This is how you know DC. This is how you know DC is from Queens, New York.
Easy.
When it gets cold out, he will not go outside.
I definitely will not go outside.
He will not go outside, which is it doesn't make any sense because Queens is East Coast. It is cold, but there's just like
It's colder in Boston.
something happens there. Like he will not go outside. Usually doesn't drink the inside coffee, but this is if DC's drinking inside coffee, you know that it's cold out.
It's cold. I'm drinking inside coffee. I'm not going out there. It's brutal.
All right, I love this because DC used to have to send me messages in order to get content for Seeking Wisdom, but now you have this Sunday night email that you send to the company.
Yes.
And it's just become this gold mine for Seeking Wisdom, so thank you. You're making my job easy. You sent one last Sunday night, and this is about waiting for perfect. And I think there's so many sub-themes in this, so I want to call today's episode Stop Waiting for Perfect.
I love that title.
So
that's a clickable
I'm
title.
gonna do what I do best, which is replay things you already said to me and then get you to remember them. So
yeah.
So
this
you
email that I sent to the company is called the TSNS.
Yes, TSNS.
The Sunday Night Series.
Yeah.
I remember it. And
I thought it was the Sunday Night Send. I like the Sunday Night Series. Okay. The Sunday Night Send is kind of hot.
The series. It's it's like
it's a series.
It's a serious series.
It is very serious.
And I began sending this, I don't know, a month or 2 months ago. And I just send them out. I try to write what's on my mind. Sometimes people reply, sometimes they don't. I'm like, does anyone read this? But then I hear good feedback from people. I guess they read it. And so it's providing fodder now for Seeking Wisdom.
I've been replying, and I want you to know that I'm not replying to pump you up. Like
No,
I'm like, this is good
up.
feedback. I like this. Okay, so this week's email, you said you took 2 screenshots of things that you said in Slack, which were basically like simplify advice to somebody in creative and somebody in product about things that looked complicated. And you just said basically simplify. You took screenshots of them, put them in your email, and then you said. The point of this email is waiting for perfect. Waiting for perfect is something that we must avoid. Waiting for perfect can look like this. Waiting until you have consensus. Waiting for perfect information. Waiting until we've had a chance to rewrite all the things, right? Like rewrite every word on the homepage. Or you said engineers love to fall into that trap of rewriting everything.
This one.
Waiting until we have the perfect strategy, tool, framework, or process. Waiting until we have the perfect setup, rig, studio, equipment. Waiting for perfect is a trap. We all fall into it. We all seek it, but it never comes. It's an illusion. It's an illusion that paralyzes you.
Woo! That sounds pretty good, huh?
Sounds pretty good.
Old man still has something there.
You still got the fastball.
Pep.
So what is that waiting for perfect? You've seen this lesson over and over and over and over again.
I suffer through it. I fall into this trap all the time myself. But I kind of I shared that because I had observed some things happening, within the team, within the company, where we're starting to scale, we're starting to get bigger. We have lots of people on the team, and one thing that naturally happens around this size and continues to happen even more so as you get bigger is this kind of search for perfect all the time. And so that's when consensus comes in. This is when the concept of Bezos talks about the one-way versus two-way doors, which I love that concept. I use it all the time. He basically has this framework where he says most decisions that you will make are two-way doors. And what he means by that is that they're not irreversible, meaning that it's a door with 2 ways. So you can make this decision, and if you figure out that the decision is wrong, you can turn around and you come back right in from that door. So on two-way decisions, you don't need to wait for consensus. You don't need to wait for perfect information. You don't need to wait for any perfection. Just make the decision and learn from that decision. And versus one-way doors are serious decisions you should spend a lot of time analyzing, because once you make them, they are not reversible.
Can you talk about, we haven't talked this much about it on the podcast, but something that you are allergic to and you try to, kill here at Drift is consensus. Mm-hmm. What is so bad about consensus, and why are you so, even if somebody's like, let's vote in Slack with emojis about blank, no. What is it about consensus?
I spend a lot of time trying to stomp out consensus.
Yes.
Right? Big time. I'm surprised we've never done an episode on this because it's so foundational. To me, consensus needs to be avoided at all costs, right? Because consensus is regression to the mean, meaning like you basically create something. If you have consensus when you're creating something, you are averaging out to the least offensive thing possible. And so therefore, unlike what Seth Godin says, which is like you need to pick an edge and you need to go all the way to the edge and get, a positive or negative reaction out of that. You regress to the least offensive version of something, meaning that it is by definition not going to be able to be great. And what we're trying to go after is to create greatness, right? To create those great 10x, 100x opportunities. And if you keep moving towards consensus, it will never happen. But consensus is the trap that we all fall into because we are social animals and we want everyone to get along and we don't want people to be upset. And so we will always err towards the side of consensus and get people to vote, and no one wants to stick their neck out. And so like everyone agreed. And so and that leads to crappy decision making.
Yeah, consensus is just like a way of like getting you don't want to own the decision,
no.
Right? Oh, well, we all voted on it, and then it failed. So like ultimately, we're all responsible.
Yeah, but no one was responsible.
I can't tell you which book this is from, but there's a great quote that I sent to you recently about this, kind of related to this, and this guy says the risk of insult is the price of clarity, right? And that to me has a lot to do with consensus, right? Because if the reason people go to consensus is because then you don't piss anybody off.
Totally.
Right? But then you kind of have this like, I don't know why we're doing this, why we make the decision. We say, hey, we did it this way, here's why. Also, it speaks to having a culture that's open to feedback, right?
Totally. And having a culture that has backbone, right? Have backbone,
Disagree
make a decision. Yeah, disagree and commit, make that decision, and then be responsible for it and learn from it. When it succeeds and when it fails.
All right, so that's consensus. But back to this like waiting for perfect, the myth of waiting for perfect. A couple other things that came up.
Trap.
It always happens this way. You sent me this screenshot. You're back to rereading the homie, the legend, Stephen Pressfield.
What's up, Stephen?
Okay.
Love him.
Big fan of the show. And
can you adopt me?
You said that'd be amazing. And actually, no, that would be too much. The two
Why?
of you together would be too much.
Oh my goodness! Imagine the books we write together.
Too much. So passages from I think this was the War of Art. Play Hurt. The amateur believes that she must have all her ducks in a row before she can launch her startup or compose her symphony or design her iPhone app. The professional knows better.
That's actually from Turning Pro.
This is from Turning Pro? Yeah, I thought it was from
okay. Yeah, very similar. And I love that. Every time I read Stephen Pressfield, he's just like energy pills. It just like fires me up.
Yep.
So if you haven't read The War of Art, I would start there, or Turning Pro. You need to read both of those books right there because he tells you the truth, right? He talks about the amateur versus the professional.
Yeah.
And all of us no one's professional. We're all striving to be professional at different things. And there's a big difference between the two.
You just got to get started. Athletes play hurt, warriors fight scared. The professional takes 2 aspirin and keeps on trucking. That's pretty good. But I think it's just a momentum, right? One of the lessons I've learned from you is like momentum is everything, right? Momentum is everything, and so if you have that big idea, great. What's the thing you can do today?
Yeah.
Right? Early days of Drift, we knew we were going to do marketing, but the slice we picked off was product marketing, and that was a tiny piece. Yep. Why? Because how do you focus on this big pie with 6 people on a team? So it's always a momentum thing.
Yeah, we're naturally, all of us are lazy, especially myself.
Yeah.
And so momentum is important because you need to have that forward progress and feeling like you're making progress towards some bigger goal to keep you in the fight, to keep you going each day, to keep you going through, because most days are going to be tough and hard and you're not going to want to do it. But if you have momentum, that's the little pick-me-up that keeps you going each day.
I just finished reading Atomic Habits by your guy, James Clear. And the whole thing is get 1% better every day.
That's it.
Because that compounds. Remember in the old office, used to have that equation, the math equation, and it would show you like what 1% improvement times 365 days looks like.
Oh yeah.
That was crazy. It's a crazy visual. 1% better every day.
Oh, I need to bring back that visual. But that book is great. Atomic Habits, James Clear. We often share his stuff. He's good stuff, homie. He should be on the podcast.
Should.
Let's get the homie on. And but another thing that I talked about in that internal post and why I thought this was so important was the idea of the scientific method. Right? I saw you had that open for a second.
Here.
And that is why all of this is important, because you want to build around, look up the scientific method, and you'll see a chart that goes into a circle, right? That is a circle, I should say, that starts with a question, and then it goes into research, then it goes into hypotheses, tests, you analyze data, you conclude something, you look at results, you form a new question, right? This is a more drawn out version, but basically the whole scientific method is how you want to approach the things that you do within your company, right? You want to have a hypothesis. You want to test that out in the real world. You want to gather results from that, learn, right? This is the learning loop. And then go back, have another hypothesis, and keep iterating. So you want that iterative process, and that rapid iteration is the key to rapid learning. And this is why momentum is important. This is why you can't wait for perfect, because every scientific design, experiment design, will be flawed somehow, no matter how perfect you want it to be. And so you need to get out there when the costs are low, right? When this is a two-way door we're talking about, not a one-way door, the cost is low. So get out there and start testing that.
All right, so this is a CTA, I think, for today. You're heading into 2019. Everybody's got big goals.
Big goals.
Just get started, right? If your goal is to do 100 push-ups, start and do 1 today and do 2 tomorrow, right? If you're going to run a marathon, do a mile today. Like I think it is this 1% better. Get started somewhere and stop waiting for perfect. That's the advice we want to leave people with today.
Two-way doors versus one-way doors. Hit us up on iTunes.
The reviews are back, so maybe it was broken.
Yeah.
Maybe it was broken.
I think that
somebody said we should be charging for this type of content.
Amen.
Yep.
So
you need both, my friend.
So hit us up on Stitcher, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to this.
Spotify,
YouTube,
Pocket Cast.
because my boy G2's trying to get YouTube subs. How we doing on YouTube subs, G2?
Right here. We're gonna have a bunch of stuff during this episode, so watch it.
Seems like in the middle.
All right.
In the middle. Early.
See ya.
All right.
We're
see ya.
out of here.